I'm John Geaver with MedPage Today, and I'm speaking with Dr. Marianne Dooley of the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill about the FDA's decision on belimumab for lupus. The decision has not been announced yet as we're recording this, but Dr. Dooley, you were the principal investigator on the Benlysta trial, which was the longer of the two phase 3 studies for belimumab. Do you think the drug should be approved?
I do think the drug should be approved. I think that the studies have shown that there's a clear benefit to the drug, and it appears to be a benefit that doesn't add to extra risk of infection or adverse events in the group of patients who received it. And that's especially important since many of those patients were already taking immunosuppressive drugs.
Now, as I recall the data, a little more than 40% of the patients had a response by the study's criteria after 1 year versus about 30% of the placebo patients. That would suggest a pretty high number needed to treat. What can you do to really maximize the clinical effectiveness of the drug, especially given its expense, through patient selection or whatever?
Well, I think that one of the interpretations of the study is that the drug is being used against placebo, and actually the placebo arm included active treatment. So many patients who came into the study and received the placebo were also having their medications changed. So that would include the addition of prednisone or other immunosuppressive drugs. And so although the difference in treatment looks to be small, it's comparison to an actively moving target rather than patients staying on same therapy throughout the study. I think it is really important to choose the patients. The study included patients with mild to moderate activity. So patients who are well controlled on their existing drugs, Plaquenil, anti-inflammatory medicines, perhaps low-dose steroids, it would not be good candidates for the therapy. It's an intravenous infusion once a month, and it, I'm certain, will be costly given the amount of time to get through the research portion. And so I think patients who have mild to moderate disease will be the best target. The study excluded patients who had severe renal disease that needed chemotherapy or active central nervous system disease, brain inflammation that needed stronger therapy. So I would say the patients who are in the middle as mild to moderate patients would be the best target.
Normally when drugs go from clinical trial setting out into the real world, you don't see generally the same level of efficacy. Do you think that's likely to happen with this drug? And is the lupus community then going to be disappointed?
I think that in this case, the patients who were recruited to the study had really real-life active lupus. The study was very open to including patients who had a lot of disease activity and could be on more than one therapy already for their lupus. So were oftentimes on several medications at the same time and came in and were active and sick. And so I don't expect there to be a big gap between the patients actually included and patients in the clinic for whom we would be thinking about using the drug.
And when belimumab came before the FDA advisory panel last year, one of the concerns raised by FDA staff was what looked like more suicides and other deaths in the belimumab arm of the trial. How much of a concern is that?
I think that it's always depression in young women with lupus is always a concern. And I don't know of any clear mechanism that would link the Benlysta to this increased rate in the placebo group. I can't think of a biologic reason why that would happen. But in working with patients with lupus, we have done various studies looking at depression indexes. And many times patients are depressed. And I think being aware of that and making sure that you're touching base and making sure that you're taking issues that they express really carefully is always important.
Well, Dr. Dooley, thank you very much. I appreciate your taking the time.
Thanks.
All right, I'm John Gieber, MedPage Today.